What if I told you that one of the deadliest medical mysteries in history wasn't caused by some terrifying virus or a bacteria, but by something that was missing? Today, we're digging into the incredible story of thiamine, a tiny nutrient so vital that its absence crippled nations, and its discovery, well, it changed everything. You see, for centuries, this terrifying disease just swept across Asia and beyond. They called it beriberi, and it was like a ghost. It would strike sailors out on long voyages, entire communities, with no clear reason why. It just left this trail of death and confusion, and doctors were completely stumped, searching for a cause they just couldn't see. And the symptoms, they were just horrifying. It would start with things like fatigue and irritability, but it escalated quickly. People would lose a shocking amount of weight. Their muscles would literally waste away, leading to paralysis. Then confusion would set in, and finally, their heart would just give out. It was this slow, awful decline, and nobody had a clue how to stop it. So, naturally, everyone was looking for a germ, right? Some kind of microscopic monster that was causing all this. But they were looking in completely the wrong direction. The answer wasn't something that was there, it was something that wasn't. And that idea, that was a total game changer for medical thinking. The hunt for this invisible killer is a real-life medical detective story. It unfolds over decades, with these brilliant minds all chasing down the absolute tiniest of clues. Okay, so one of the first huge breaks in the case came from a man named Takaaki Kanehiro. It's the 1880s, and beriberi is just devastating the Japanese Navy. And while everyone else is blaming germs or maybe the climate, Takaaki has this hunch. He thinks it's the food. So he runs this massive experiment. He switches sailors from a diet of pretty much only polished white rice to one that also had barley, meat, and vegetables. And the results? They were absolutely stunning. Beriberi practically disappeared. And that just lit a fire. It set off this whole chain of discoveries. A few years later, in 1897, a scientist named Christian Eichmann notices that chickens being fed leftover polished rice were developing a similar kind of paralysis. But the chickens eating the unpolished stuff, they were perfectly fine. So his colleague, Garrett Grins, puts two and two together in 1901. He figures out that the outer layer of the rice, the part that gets polished off, must have some kind of substance that's essential for life. Then, fast forward to 1911, and Casimir Funk finally isolates the mystery substance, coining the term vitamin, an amine that is vital for life. And this really boils the entire mystery down to one single thing. Polished white rice had its bran and germ, all the good stuff, stripped away. Whole grains, like brown rice, kept those layers. That was it. That was the difference between life and death. The very process that was supposed to make rice cleaner and more desirable was actually stripping it of the exact nutrient that kept people alive. Just incredible. So with all these clues pointing in the right direction, the scientific world just raced to finally pin down, create, and name this life-saving compound once and for all. And here it is. By 1936, they had synthesized it and officially named it thiamine, which you probably know as vitamin B1. Now, this was huge. It wasn't just the discovery of one little molecule. This was the birth of modern nutrition as a science. For the very first time, we truly understood that some diseases aren't caused by what you get, but by what you don't get. And that word essential is key. Our bodies can't make this stuff. We have to, absolutely have to, get it from our food. So what does this thiamine actually do? I mean, why is not having it so catastrophic for the human body? This is honestly the best way to think about it. Thiamine itself isn't the fuel, it's the spark plug. It's the thing that allows your body's engine to actually use the fuel, the carbs and amino acids you eat. You can have a full tank of gas, but without that spark plug, you are not going anywhere. So here's how it works, basically. You eat your food, and your body converts thiamine into its active form, something called TPP. This little molecule then acts as a helper or a coenzyme for these super important reactions that break down sugars and amino acids. That process is what generates ATP, which is the universal energy currency for all our cells. And that explains why the brain and the heart, which are massive energy hogs, get hit so hard when there's a deficiency. They're just starved of power. Now, beriberi might sound like some ancient, historical disease, but thiamine deficiency is very much still a modern problem. So what happens when we start running on empty today? So while thankfully widespread beriberi from polished rice is pretty rare in most places now, certain groups are definitely still at high risk. Chronic alcoholism is a really big one because it messes with how your body absorbs the vitamin. Then you've got conditions like diabetes, certain procedures like bariatric surgery, and this is important, diets that still rely way too heavily on processed, unfortified grain. And here's what makes this so critical. Your body has basically no long-term storage for thiamine. You only have this tiny little reserve between 25 and 50 milligrams, and it gets used up fast. We're talking a half-life of just 9 to 18 days. That means you can't just stock up on it for a month. You need a steady, daily supply to keep the engine running. Okay, so this brings us to the most important and practical question of all. How do we make sure our own tank never runs empty? Well, the good news is thiamine is in a ton of different foods. And would you look at that, what's at the top of the list? Whole grains! It brings our entire story full circle, right back to that life-saving rice bran. Legumes like lentils and peas are great, so are pork and nuts. And take a look at that last one, fortified cereals and flours. That's a big one. The legacy of this whole discovery is really a massive public health victory. As of today, 59 countries actually mandate that thiamine be added back into processed grains like white flour and rice. That one policy prevents countless cases of deficiency all over the world. It's amazing. So how much do we actually need? Turns out the amounts are really tiny. We measure them in milligrams. For most adults, we're talking about 1.1 to 1.2 milligrams a day. That's it. The need does go up a little bit during pregnancy and lactation because the mother is supplying this crucial nutrient for her child's development too. Now, it's not always quite as simple as just eating the right stuff. There is one more little wrinkle in this story. Turns out, some things can actually work against the thiamine you're trying to get from your food. Yeah, these are what we call thiamine blockers. For instance, there are these enzymes in some raw fish and shellfish that can literally destroy thiamine. This is actually a big reason why cooking fish is so important. Then you have compounds like tannins, which are found in tea, and they can interfere with how well your body absorbs it. Even some common food preservatives, like sulfites, can break the vitamin down before you get a chance to use it. So from a mysterious plague lurking in a bowl of rice all the way to a global health strategy, the story of thiamine is just this powerful reminder of how one tiny invisible nutrient can literally shape human history. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? After more than 100 years of discovery, what other vital keys to our health are still out there, just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to find them?